In today's episode of the Bathroom Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Shiro Hatori. He's hailing over from the teams at Concept3D. He's the director of demand generation. And at Concept3D, they're doing something quite interesting. They basically bring, it's quite interesting. They say they bring your world to life. So they basically, providing interactive maps that users can experience through the power and can build out with a powerful CMS platform. So basically today we want to deep dive into Concept3D, what it's all about, and also how Shiro is thinking about growth for the company. So welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Lucas. It's great to be here.
Of course. So maybe give us, a 360 overview, like in your own words, what is Concept3D all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Concept3D, I'm currently the director of demand gen there, and we're all about, like you said, bringing your world to life. What does that really mean? We create location-driven interactive mapping and virtual tour experiences that engage your viewers, showcase your location, and effectively tell your story. So we have two main products. It's an interactive map and a virtual tour that we call 360 Tour. So those are our two buckets. Think one of our products is a bird's eye view, just like Google Maps when you're looking down. Mm-hmm. And the other is POV, where you're on your foot and you get a virtual experience on the ground. So those are the two main products.
So how would the product be used? Like what's typical use cases? Who's leveraging the platform? Maybe give us a bit of an insight.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have our biggest share within the higher education market. So universities have a need to map out their campus and make it really accessible, usable, friendly for students that are both incoming and also current students. So let's say I'm a student and I need to figure out where my first day's class is, right? You want to figure out where that is in the school. And our solution creates a custom map that lets you create navigation, information about buildings. And so it creates a really useful on-site experience for students in higher education. We also work with a lot of fan and guest experience companies as well. It's a smaller side of our business right now that we're trying to grow, but you could imagine like at like a festival, right? If you're an attendee, like you want to know where your bathrooms are, you want to know where your food stalls are, right? And we make that all really easy and exciting on your mobile device. So you don't have to like look at a physical map, right? And it can actually point you in the direction that you need to go.
Very good. Now that gives a very, very clear overview of how it's being used. What would you say, for example, in the universities, like who's actually the individual who's like bringing it on board? Is that like a sort of a campus manager, or does it come from the facility angle? Like who's, having the sort of the need to bring it in?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So we found that depending on the size of the school, the person really changes, right? Our ICP really changes from school to school, but usually we work with admissions and marketing departments who usually are the main influencer in deals. We also have facilities involved because facilities is in charge of the actual physical campus. So they naturally tend to get involved, but we really like talking to marketing and admissions within higher educations. And then similarly with like events, we like talking to event organizers, managers, and digital strategists as well.
Very cool. Okay, so what would you say? How do these folks, because they're busy folks, like how do they learn about you guys? Like what's the journey that they go through? Like, or in other words, what are the client acquisition channels you guys leverage to bring them on board?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest way people find out about us is through word of mouth, referrals. For example, they'll see a competitor, right? Like if you're the admissions director at a school within the same state, you're going to look at your competitor, right, within the same state and see what do they have for an interactive map, and they'll figure out, like, okay, they're using this software, they're using Concept3D. That's probably the most common way people find out about us. And the way we really optimize that is, trying to make sure we show up for keyword rankings, make sure that we're at least bidding on our own competitive search words within Google Ads. And we're also making sure that we follow up and retarget anyone who visits our website. So those are some quick wins we're trying to at least reach people who figure out about us.
Very cool. Yeah, you mentioned the website there. How do you think about the website for demand generation? Like what role do you sort of, attribute to the page when it comes to growth?
I think it's one of the most important parts about demand generation. I'm thinking of demand generation in two main buckets, which is creating demand and capturing demand. And a lot of where the capturing happens is on your website, right? A majority of it is. And so if your net, I guess we call it your fishing net for capturing demand, if it's not built well, then it's not going to perform well. So I think it's extremely important. And I think it's one of the first places you should start if you're trying to build out your demand gen model.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Okay, so that gives us a good insight. Where do you personally now see sort of, strength of the website versus where do you see room for improvement? Because we see a lot of folks on the show, they basically, they see the pitch as an ever evolving piece. So where do you see it going? Where do you see strengths and room for improvement for the page?
Oh, for our own website, you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah, we're actually working on pushing out a new homepage update live like today. Hopefully it gets done this quarter. But yeah, I think there's always room for improvement. I think it's a never ending project of constantly testing new things, trying out new messaging. But I think, some quick wins on our website could be just utilizing our CR or our marketing automation tool, HubSpot, to create a little bit more personalized journeys and personalized touch points throughout our website. I think we could create a better journey as well for our website. So making sure that, pages don't ever end without a call to action, making sure there's always a next step, just like a YouTube, right? Like YouTube does a great job of getting people into rabbit holes watching videos. And so we want to create something similar with our website, but obviously make it more useful than a YouTube video. But yeah, we want to create better journeys, I think. And then, yeah, we haven't done a lot of A/B testing. So that's something I'd like to do a little bit more of. I think we have enough traffic to our website that we can really justify it. So that's something that I would like to test out next as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned actually also retargeting and the likes. Like, I mean, the cookieless future is in front of the door. Like next year, third-party cookies are going to be out the browser. How do you think about that as a demand generation manager? Is that something folks should already start thinking about? What do you see colleagues discussing about it? Maybe let me know what's your take.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think thinking about our website specifically, it's going to be really hard to retarget from our website. And so I think a lot of what we do off our site, we have to create little miniature demand generation ecosystems, right? So like we do a lot of our advertising on LinkedIn, making sure we have a full nurturing from awareness, consideration to maybe even decision making. Like we have an ecosystem and a nurture within that platform to get people through all those steps just within LinkedIn. And then when we do bring them to the website, having the same process, right? Making sure that we have all the different capture points at different stages of the buyer journey available on our website. So like, for example, if we only had a request a demo on our website and we had none of the other bottom of the funnel resources like comparison charts, pricing, recorded demos, right? Case studies. Like if we didn't offer those, like people are probably not going to convert and we're not going to be able to recapture them if the cookie laws are strengthened.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you spoke about the stages of the buyer's journey, and we had sort of a theme coming up on the show where people were wondering, like, what do you do with leads that are, converting in the awareness stage or the earlier stages of the consideration stage? Because, very often they end up, in lists and not much happens. Like, what have you learned over the years as a marketer? Like, what is great ways to, convert and then also nurture leads in the awareness stage?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it, I think the industry is shifting right now, right? And so a lot of it is really about providing value. So not trying to pigeonhole them through this funnel, of A, B, C, D. Like the reality is like everyone's in this cloud, right? And they're going to digest information the way they want to. So making sure that you have all the points for setup, like maybe I like digesting things through a webinar, and that's my entry point into awareness. And then maybe for someone else, they like reading a blog, right? So I would say first, like making sure you have all the content out, doing a content map of everything you have and making sure you fill all the gaps on different ways people like their information and making that available through all three stages of the buyer journey, I think is a really good start to understanding this. And a second part to that is I think just the lead to trying to get them to convert to a qualified lead or a sales qualified lead. that process, I think, is just going to slowly start slimming out. I think people's inboxes are extremely filled now. And so expecting to be able to get an email and then convert them through an email nurture is just going to become harder and harder. So going back to my first point is like making sure you're creating valuable content that allows people to really create their own journey and eventually come to your website and hit that request demo or contact us page is going to be the ultimate goal moving forward.
No, I think you put it very nicely, and I think it's really encompasses the challenges that a lot of folks have been expressing on the show. So appreciate that sort of summary in a way of what the challenge for many marketers are. I would like to switch gears a little bit and talk with you about your journey as a marketer. There's so much content out there for people in marketing, growth marketing, to educate themselves. Like, with all the noise out there, where do you personally like to learn and read and educate yourself?
Yeah. Now I would say in my career, I really like communities. So two that I'm a part of is Pavilion and Growth Mentor. So shout outs to both of them. It allows you to have direct conversations with like-minded folks. Maybe they're also a little more experienced in their field, or maybe a little more specialized. It lets you ask specific questions about things that you're going through that you're looking for a solution, or I just need someone to talk to about. It's really, really helpful. And so I think that personalization, being able to help each other and support each other like-mindedly in the same industry is really, really helpful for me. I mean, I think for those starting out, like Reddit was a really good place for me, to be honest. I did a lot of research and still do a lot of research to this day on Reddit. So if you're looking for more information, like generically, like I think that's a really good place to go as well.
Awesome. I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, definitely.
What's the last book you read, or the one book you would recommend marketers to read?
Oh, the last book I read is actually, I'm reading it right now, so I'll just consider that one. It's called Growing Happy Clients. It's right here.
Oh, yeah.
But she's actually one of my mentors on Growth Mentor, Daphne Tideman. And so I really like what she has to say. She's super smart. And so I'm reading her book right now.
Awesome. What's one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I would say converting leads right now is a very big focus right now, both from sales and marketing standpoint.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role in growth marketing today?
If we had no boundaries in tech. That's a tough one.
You can get back to it. You got a magic wand?
Yeah, let me come back to that one.
Okay, very good. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
About the company, I guess just like try to think of new ideas around how I can reach new audiences, right? I think we have a lot to do as a company in growing our awareness. And so, how can I grow my awareness? What are some guerrilla ways I could do it, right? Guerrilla tactics. Some fun ways I can do it. Those always like keep me up at night because it's really fun to think about.
Very cool. And the last question, if we go back to the days of the University of Colorado, so Colorado Boulder, actually, we do a bit of time travel. You're heading out of formal education into the world of business and growth. What's the one advice you give yourself for your business or for your journey in business?
Journey in business. I would say know your worth and just, don't let the other person in your head talk you down. I think know your value and just be confident on it. I'd probably be 2 steps ahead of where I am today if I just told myself that. So
sure. Yeah. I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucas.